You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, some Missouri residents may see a tax rebate of up to $1,000.
Also going to see some sunshine today, but before it's all said and done, we're going to be talking about frost advisories. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch weather.
And we meet a 75-year-old grandmother who just earned her degree after a 57-year gap. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The Missouri House approves a bill that would give rebates of up to $1,000 for state income taxes owed this year. The proposal would allow for rebates of up to $500 per individual or $1,000 for married couples. For example, a couple who owed $500 in state income taxes would be repaid $500. If individuals or couples did not have to pay additional money in income taxes when they filed, they would not qualify. The bill now heads to the Senate, where it faces an uncertain future. Over the weekend, crews had to respond to a fire in the Royal Heights area in North Joplin. On Saturday, just after 9, officials responded to this home at 2431 East Rolla. Firefighters were able to get the fire under control quickly. Officials tell us no one was in the home and there were no injuries. And firefighters also had to battle a mobile home fire in Reddings Mill. This was at 6645 Castle Heights Road, a remote area without any nearby hydrants. Firefighters set up a portable tank to continually fill as they battled the blaze. We're told everyone got out safely. Red Cross was called in to assist the 4 adults who lived there. A smart visor for your car and a 3D printed robot. Just some of the creations shown off at PSU's Kansas Technology Center. Yearly Electronics Engineering Technology Design Symposium gave students a chance to showcase their hard work and receive feedback from the industry professionals. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky has more.
After 2 full semesters of hard work, Pitt State seniors in the engineering department are showcasing their inventions.
They conceive the idea, they develop the idea themselves, design the project, build a working prototype, and then they test it, and the result is what we're looking at here.
Clark Shaver, a professor in the electronics engineering department, says he's proud of how far his students have come by the time this yearly symposium rolls around.
They're freshmen. They come in as high school students or thereabouts, and they don't know almost anything. And by the time that they graduate, they have gained all this knowledge and they are able to put together some projects that are incredibly high level.
Student creations include those like SpectreBot, which can be used for holiday animatronics.
It's basically a robot. I wanted something like, you go to Home Depot and you're like, okay, that's really cool, that's a skeleton, when can I use that? Halloween. Or what if you want something for Christmas? Or what if you want something for Easter?
Kincello says it wasn't an easy process to get to this point, but the experience he got from it was valuable.
It's different when you say, oh, I developed this, and you're like, oh, that's really cool, that's a neat thing. I don't know, you fall in love with your project.
Industry professionals were in attendance to offer guidance on students' projects.
A lot of them are alumni, others are just interested in making the program better and interested in seeing what the students have to do.
From here, students can take their projects straight to the market and see if their invention becomes a part of the future. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
This is the last project for senior engineering students. A local fire station hopes to restore a 73-year-old fire truck in time for this year's Christmas parade season. Firefighters and the city of Miami are raising funds to restore a piece of Miami history, 1949 Seagrave Pumper No. 6. They plan to showcase it off in parades, fire prevention education, and special celebrations. Officials hope to raise $15,000 to restore it by the 2022 Christmas parade. To help raise funds, there's a t-shirt fundraiser underway now. Short sleeve t-shirts are $14. Long sleeve t-shirts cost $18. However, if you order a 2X to a 4X, it adds an extra $2 to $4 depending on the size, and that's an image there of the picture itself. For information on this fundraiser, you can go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Now, one thing we don't have to worry about in the 4 states is this.
You don't know that.
Well, I hope not. I don't know why it would get here. Do you see that? Wow. Law enforcement officers in Venice, Florida have reported recent visits by not 1, but 2 massive alligators. The enormous reptiles, estimated to be at least 10 feet long each, They like to stroll through the city's residential areas, just getting a little sun. One was seen on Easter morning crossing someone's front lawn before taking a break on the driveway. 2 days later, a different alligator spotted crossing the street in Venice with lots of foot traffic in the area. Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission explains it is mating season for the native alligators, which may explain all this activity.
I do love the police officer in the SUV. He's like, I'm gonna cordon off the street. I mean, I ain't getting out of my car now.
I just love
I'm gonna stay right here.
Just alligators in general, like they always look like they're smiling. And that shot of him walking across, he's just like got a big Cheshire grin. He's like, yeah, this is my street. This is my neighborhood.
I've seen them down in Florida in the wild, out in the open on golf courses. But that first one that we show, and I know looks are deceiving sometimes with the angle and whatnot. Not that one, but that first one that walks across that driveway, I don't think I've ever seen one out that big.
Yeah, both of them are at least 10 feet long.
Like, I'm not saying that one's a baby by any means.
I mean, yeah, it looks like a baby, but he goes.
Look at the girth. Look at the girth on this thing.
Did you see though? He stretched from the yellow line to the white line there.
And I got bad hamstrings, folks. I'm like a 2 o'clock snack waiting to happen. Okay, Sarasota County, check that off my list. Don't need to be there anytime soon.
So if this is mating season, why would they think there's other gators in these neighborhoods?
This is a family-friendly show, and that was a great attempt to try to set me up for some humor, and I'm going to talk about the weather.
All right. We won't play this game.
Beat you to the punch on that one. It's called commercial breaks. Live look outside of Television City. We're starting to see a little bit of blue sky poke out from underneath that cloud cover, and the clouds really haven't hampered anything. All the rain's moved off to the east. We just need it to kind of clear out throughout the rest of the 4 states, which it will by about 9 o'clock. We do have a flood warning in effect for Berry County, mainly in between Monette and Cassville down here. You have to remember, on top of the weekend rain, that is the same location that picked up in between about 3.5 to 4 inches last week alone. And on top of that, we're going, you just saw the purple up here. We'll talk about that in a second. This is what I was talking about with that cloud cover. Slowly but surely pushing off to the east, but all the rain that we had for the weekend now way off to our east. Look at that. Let me get out of the way here. Look at that gorgeous sight over 7th and Range Line. This is facing off to the east instead of over the intersection. 43 degrees though, with the wind coming in from the north. It's still a little bit cool out there as our temperatures range from about 39 to 50. The wind tracker will be consistent but not blustery. We'll roll 10 to 15 miles per hour out of the north. Wind chills that are presenting 37 in both the Yates Center and Iola. Sink down to the south, 45 in Grove. And so, yeah, it's jacket weather when you do step outside right now. And really the rest of the afternoon, we're going to be a touch below normal because we'll only top out around 62 degrees. As we work in overnight, here's the big change. How about a frost advisory for our northern counties? Should be the last time in a while that we have to worry about the frost. But bring the plants inside. Now look at those afternoon highs, rising up gradually 70s by the time we get to Wednesday.
All right, up next, we've got Mike Cessna joining us again from Art Forum's Gallery in the KOAM studio to talk about the Collaborative Joy event. And we'll find out if you're going to need to bring dice for it. And later, the pandemic changed the way people think about the healthcare system for the better or worse. Our own Chris Warner sat down with one healthcare provider to talk about the perception of the industry. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, most people did not give their local health department a second thought, but the pandemic put them in the spotlight in both a good way and a bad way. KOAM's Chris Warner spoke with one local health department and has more.
The local health department, 2.5 years ago, wasn't on the forefront of most people's minds.
I've always said the health department is the best kept secret in town.
Larry Bergner is the administrator for the Newton County Health Department. He attributes that statement to what he's seen as the general public's perception of not just the Newton County Health Department, but all of them.
Most people think that the health department is for those lower income families, that we only provide a limited number of services, and most people think, well, it's really not for me.
Then the pandemic hit. Health departments were thrust into the spotlight, which Bergner says has had a positive and negative impact. A positive aspect was that people realize there's a lot more to their local health department than they imagine. But on the flip side of that, Bergner says maybe there was too much more.
I think some people look at the health department and are leery of us because of what we've seen with masking mandates and some of the things that we've been told that, well, does it work, does it not work? And there's certainly opinions on both sides.
Bergner says the pandemic caused a split, with some health departments, like Newton County, issuing one set of guidelines, while another department nearby had a totally different perspective on the situation.
So there's been some view in the public, can we trust our healthcare providers? Can we trust public health? And I'm sorry for that, and I'm hopeful that we can regain the trust of the public, because we're supposed to be true advocates of science and what is best for the population. And certainly I've tried to do that in my role, as many others have as well.
In the Osho, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Bergner says he wants to remind the public there's much more to your local health department than just vaccines and WIC vouchers. And he encourages everyone to stop by and learn more about what your tax dollars are helping to pay for. Well, one of Dorothy's dresses from The Wizard of Oz could auction off for upwards of $1.2 million. Bonhams is auctioning off this blue and white dress that Judy Garland wore for the scene at the witch's castle. This is only the second complete final costume with both blue and white pinafore dress and blouse known to exist. It's also one of only 5 blue and white versions of the pinafore dress made for the film. The fabric label is inscribed Judy Garland. During the pandemic, a retired drama professor at Catholic University of America discovered the dress while going through boxes from his former office.
What?
Turns out the dress was donated to the school by actress Mercedes McCambridge back in 1973. Auction is set for May 24th in Los Angeles.
So the price tag on anything Wizard of Oz memorabilia-wise, that does not surprise me.
Yeah.
But now that you tell me it was discovered by that professor, is the university auctioning this off?
It doesn't say. Yeah. I don't know.
Because it appears to be university property is what I'm gleaning from this. Mike Cessna, I want you to weigh in. Who should this money go to? The professor or the university?
And I don't know. I don't know if it was still in the hands. The story
Mike's like,
doesn't
I want
say if
no
it
part
was-
of this.
Story does not say if it was still in the hands of the university before it went to auction. So, we need to look in more. We need more details. Producers, look into that for me.
Okay. With the attention span you and I have, it's like. All right, average high this time of year would be 72. We're already 1.36 inches up on precipitation accumulation. Fancy way to say the rain that we've taken on since April 1. And so we've got the flood watch down here in Berry County, and that is because just in the last 48 hours alone, pushing up right there in Cassville, especially close to 3 inches of rain. That's on top of the 3.5 to 4 inches that we got from last Saturday to last Monday. So it just keeps on coming down, especially south of I-44. Temperatures today up around 62 degrees, mostly sunny skies. Overnight, frost advisory for our northern counties extending until 9 a.m. Tuesday morning. Then finally our afternoon highs warm up, but more importantly, our evening lows warm up to the 50s and 60s by the end of the week. Staying dry till Thursday. Mike Cessna, who I put on the spot and didn't want to answer. No, but we're going to talk about something way more important coming up when the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 returns.
And
no, keep going. I'm going to fill back in.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna fill back
anyway,
in.
during the meeting, Nicole brought up Ukraine, and I was surprised because I was also working on a Ukraine project, and it just kind of went from there. So,
and so folks, you just kind of jumped in the middle. During the commercial break, I asked, this is Mike Cessna, by the way. Mike, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Mike, PSU graduate, and has had many of his works displayed nationwide. Anyway, I was asking him about how he and art forms in Pittsburgh got involved in Ukraine, or whether he had familial ties there. And Mike was finishing up the story there that it really came out of frustration and what I would call human dignity. And so that's where I'm going to use our jumping in spot right now, because Mike Art Forms and the Pittsburgh Art Walk that's coming up this Friday begins at 5 o'clock, and it's going to be all throughout Broadway. You can't miss it. Have a great event. And here's the thing I love about your event. You do not have to be a burgeoning painter.
right.
You do not have to be patient, and I'll tell you why. You don't have to know what you're going to paint, but if you have a modicum of human dignity, this event is for you, because Mike is putting on an event helping people of Ukraine, but specifically children of Ukraine.
Right.
And so, Mike, I want to use that as our jumping off point. When you were sitting there painting out of anger and frustration, what was the genesis of this project that said, wait, other people can help us through art?
Yeah, just wanting to help. I mean, if you watch the TV and you watch what's going on there, it's kind of surreal because you can't put your mind around it, right? Because right now we have 5.1 million refugees, meaning they left the country. Most of them are in Poland. Like 7 million people are displaced within the country itself. So, I mean, I think that's, what is that, 12 million, 13 million? Anyway, if you think about Joplin, what is Joplin? 50,000 people?
Roughly, yeah.
And maybe 20 miles square each way. I think it's 27 one way, like 17 the other. You could put like 360 Joplins next to each other,
Isn't that crazy?
right? And that would go, past Hawaii. So it's just mind-boggling. Those kind of numbers they throw at us, it's like, okay, that's the population of New York about. I think New York population is 18 million. But
Mike, we could take Tulsa, St. Louis, Kansas City, and Little Rock,
right?
and combine. No, seriously, we could combine.
Right,
we don't get that number.
Right, I know, it's crazy. But it's just being upset, seeing the devastation, senseless devastation. I mean, bombing civilians, right? And it's crazy. So it's just out of frustration. So I started a project the week before our March meeting at Art Forums, and I was just upset and started a painting. And then we had our meeting, and we found out, Nicole and I were both, and other people were both, upset about it. We wanted to do something. And so we kind of came up with this project. Nicole came up with the idea of doing flags for our fundraiser. There's going to be a class on May 1st where you can paint flags using the color of the flag of Ukraine, as well as the sunflower, which happens to be their national flower. And that'll be from 1 to 4 on May 1st, and then there will be another fundraiser the same day, but from 4 to 6. That's a paint and sip. 100% of the cost of that workshop is going to UNICEF to support the children in Ukraine.
And before we talk about UNICEF too, because there's another UNICEF fundraiser that you're putting on Friday in association with Art Walks, and this is where I want to tie in the fact that you do not have to have any artistic ability. As a matter of fact, you may just want to come by and watch people because everything's going to be really quick. The amount of time that people are going to paint is as simple as rolling a die.
Right.
So if you could kind of walk us through that, because this does sound extremely interesting and fun, and it's all for a great cause.
Right. So basically, the idea is we're going to have 2 very large canvases. I'm talking 4 foot by 3 foot. We're going to give you 3 colors. One of the canvases you only can paint with using the colors of white, black, and red. The other you can use yellow, red, blue, white, black, and gold. But you can only pick 3 of those 6 colors. So you'll roll the dice. You'll get to paint between 1 and 6 minutes, depending on who's there, right? I mean, if we have a big crowd, which we're hoping for,
you will.
We may have fewer, or you may have fewer time, I don't know, or less time. So you're going to be able to just express yourself. So abstract expressionism is just basically a free-flowing movement. Abstract expressionism often uses a lot of texture. We're going to have some texture gel there for you to use as well. You'll paint with a paintbrush as well as other kinds of tools. So
it's interesting because I can kind of take your genesis for this project and transfer it myself onto this canvas, because through that abstract expressionism, I'm painting what I feel. Am I right?
Exactly. No, you're 100% correct. Yes.
So
absolutely.
If you show up and if you're upset or angry about the situation, like Mike was, if you're empathetic, if you're distraught, you can put those feelings on canvas.
Right.
And then after everybody has contributed to this, and number 1, I want everybody to donate while you're there, and come by and watch too. But then I understand you're going to take these are obviously one of a kind, because of the number of hands that have touched them.
Right.
And then we're going to have an auction.
Yeah, we're going to auction them off. We hope to gain whatever money we gain from that auction. We're going to obviously donate to the UNICEF, and should be cool. So I mean, If you got a big home, there's a big painting. There's a couple of big paintings coming up.
And like I said, you can't find these anyplace else.
No, I'm hoping this will be an annual event, right? So if it turns out well, we have a good audience and we have good weather, it should be fun.
So that's Friday evening at 5, Art Walks, downtown Pittsburgh. Can't miss it. Sunday, we've got the Stand Together with the painting of the Ukraine flag, and then the paint and sip. Pretty much all evening long. Going to run that from, what do we run that from? Essentially 1 to 6?
Essentially, both workshops.
Combine
yes.
those. Mm-hmm. And now that you've determined we want to help the people, specifically the children of Ukraine, how did you come across UNICEF?
Well, you've seen UNICEF on TV,
Absolutely.
but you really don't put your mind together regarding it. But anyway, I was just actually reading about Audrey Hepburn and trying to understand her legacy. And towards the end of her life, she was one of the ambassadors of UNICEF. And so I got interested in that, started reading about it and her role in that. And I was inspired by it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Okay, so once again, that was a perfect ending to that. Once again, I wanted to remind everybody that what Mike and Art Forms in Pittsburgh have put together, all these donations, and like I said, if you want to take part in it, that'd be great. We would love to see you out there. If you just want to come watch, it sounds like such a good time. Unfortunately, it sounds like a good time for such an important cause, and the fact that we're having to do this is one thing, but let's do it, let's make it successful, and let's help those 13 million people.
Right. I should point out that this painting is free. So you come, get the paint. You can do whatever you want to do with the paint on the canvas. We're going to encourage you to donate. So there's going to be a QR code in the front on the sign. There's also going to be a jar, so you can throw in some money there, and then all that will be donated.
Mike Cessna of Art Forms. Mike, thank you so much. Number one, thank you for joining us. But number two, thank you so much. And I said this earlier, it's not only Art Forms, it's not only the artists of Southeast Kansas, it's Southwest Missouri, it's Northeast Oklahoma, and Northwest Arkansas. You have an art community that has thought outside of your own little realm and doing something to take care of the world.
Right.
Thank you, Mike. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Curtis Smith. Private First Class Smith served in the Marines from 1955 to 1963. He served in the Pacific Theater with the Q Company, 3rd Battalion. He earned the Good Conduct Medal and the Asiatic Pacific Medal during his service. His hometown, Webb City, Missouri. We thank you, today's four-state hero, Curtis Smith. It's never too late to follow your dreams, and one 75-year-old grandmother in North Carolina has a degree to prove it. Lena Tillett has her inspiring story.
At Shaw University, 75-year-old Rebecca Inge walked into the bookstore.
And I saw this shirt and I had to have it. 65 is the year that I first came to Shaw.
Way back in 1965. And she has the student ID to prove it.
The manager was excited. I said, this was my year. This is the year I came to Shaw. 1965.
That's when Inge hopped on a train, leaving her Sanford, Florida home to pursue a college degree in Raleigh.
I always dreamed of going to med school because I was sick a lot as a child. I dreamed of being a surgeon.
Soon job opportunities, marriage, and then in 1968, the birth of her daughter put college on the back burner.
Basically, she put her life on hold so that I could finish my 21 years, all of my education.
When Inge's husband passed away 7 years ago, she returned to the Shaw University campus to re-enroll.
And the lady looked at me, she said, well, I don't know if we have your records. I said, then find them.
Inge's journey took her around the world, but brought her back to Wake County with her daughter's family. Her philosophy is much like the pillow beside her.
You gotta live till you die, so why not be happy? Find something that makes you happy and get involved.
Well, the records were found, but Inge says many things at Shaw have changed, like computers and email. Inge's commencement ceremony is set for May 8th. Congratulations to her. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, summertime is just around the corner. We've got some tips for you on how to make your trips super easy. And something you don't typically see on the baseball diamond is a player who's tackled. But that's exactly what happened during a college game. We're going to tell you about these fallout. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:34. Let's take a look at today's top stories. Firefighters battled a mobile home fire in Redding's Mill. This was at 6645 Castle Heights Road, a remote area without any nearby fire hydrants. Firefighters early Friday morning set up a portable tank to continually fill as they battled the blaze. We're told everyone got out safely. The Red Cross was called in to assist the 4 adults who lived there. Pittsburgh high school theater students had a chance to showcase their improv skills over the weekend. The students hosted a show called 1.5 Degrees. It has a basic structure themed around climate change, but the scenes are improvised, so it's different every show. Students say on top of being fun, the show has given them new skills.
So whenever we found out we were going to do this show, we wanted to tackle all aspects of it. So you'll see scenes about the meat industry, about recycling. There's even some information at the end about mindful choices, shopping secondhand, composting, advocating for change. We knew if we wanted to do such a big topic that we needed to tackle all of it, and we needed to bring awareness to every aspect of it, not just a small amount.
First show was Thursday. There was another one Friday night, and the final show took place Saturday evening at 7. Well, there was another show going on at Pitt State as well. This one on Friday. The Southeast Kansas Symphony partnered with the PSU Music Department for a children's concert. Officials say around 1,000 area school children attended the concert, which featured music from Jurassic Park, Pirates of the Caribbean, Encanto, and the Avengers.
You know, it goes from one thing to another one. So we have a great partnership with the USD teachers, as well as the PHS High School band director and orchestra director, Cooper Neal. He's actually he's emceeing the whole event. So he's very entertaining.
Concert was at Pitt State's Bicknell Family Center for the Arts. Well, Friday, as you recall, was Earth Day, but the city of Pittsburgh used Saturday to bring the community out to celebrate. City Sustainability Advisory Committee hosted the celebration to educate folks on ways to make a difference on the planet's future. The main goal of the event was to raise awareness about climate change.
What we're hoping is that people are just aware of the resources that we do have in Pittsburgh and just asking questions like, what can I do to make a difference with the earth and protect the earth, and to think about what government officials are doing and to get involved.
Some children in Minnesota celebrated Earth Day on Friday by releasing more than 100,000 ladybugs inside the Mall of America. There are over 30,000 live plants on the property, including 400 live trees. So the mall found the most effective way to deal with the bugs. The center has been using ladybugs as a pesticide for almost 30 years. It's also been environmentally friendly since it opened in 1992. The mall recycles more than 60% of its waste, uses passive solar energy from skylights, relies on LED bulbs, and sends food waste to a local hog farm.
That's awesome that the kids were able to take part in that and learn the importance of it as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand you have a story update?
Yes. The Dorothy costume, one of 5 costumes used in the original film, is set to be auctioned off. It has a huge price tag on it, like
1.2 mil.
1.2 million. It will be auctioned off with the proceeds going to American University in Washington, D.C.'s film program.
And I still think that the professor that found it gets a finder's fee. That's what I'm lobbying for. All right, we still do have flood warnings for Berry County coming off of what transpired last night. You have to remember that's the same place where we picked up 3.5 to 4 inches last week. So now we're just piling it on there. No road closures according to the Department of Transportation to speak of as of yet. 43 degrees over some parting clouds and blue sky in Joplin. Temperatures have taken a little dip since sunrise, but it's going to be a delightful afternoon. Albeit a little bit cooler than what we'd anticipate for this time of year, as we'll only be in the low 60s, but plenty of sunshine, so no worries about that. As we transition to our 7-day forecast, fighting technology. Oh, wait, it's a Monday. This is what we do. You'll notice that overnight, in between Monday and Tuesday, chilly temps, frost advisories for the northern 4 states, then incrementally up on the thermometer for our overnight lows to the tune of 60s in between Thursday and Friday. Be back with more KOAM morning news on Fox 14 right after this. An axe used in Stanley Kubrick's movie The Shining is up for auction. It's a prop used in one of the most iconic horror films of all time. It's expected to fetch as much as $100,000. Jeannie Moose has the story about how the axe may not be as dangerous as we all expect.
It's hard not to take a shine to The Shining's infamous axe. The latest one up for auction is a lightweight version.
The top here feels, you can see it's rubber.
That has documentation saying it was used in The Shining. It's believed Jack Nicholson lugged it around as he maniacally chased his son through a wintry maze and around the isolated resort.
But he was able to effortlessly walk around with it, and it looks just like a real axe.
Gotta Have Rock'n'Roll.com is auctioning off the axe along with other items.
This is the Heart of the Ocean necklace.
Costume jewelry that Kate Winslet wore in Titanic, or maybe you'd prefer a fake fin.
I mean, you could see this, right?
Oh, yeah. From Jaws. But the limelight shines brightest on the axe from The Shining. They're hoping it sells for over $100,000. It's hard to get a handle on the axe. Exactly how many were there? Where did they all end up? There were several actual axes with metal heads used in the famous door chopping scene.
Here's Johnny.
Planet Hollywood in Florida says it has one of the metal axes, and Vanity Fair tracked down collector Matthew Dalton, who bought another for $208,000.
It just makes you want to swing it, you know?
But when it comes to the rubber and resin versions,
Red rum.
those interested in murder need not apply. This would not work for an axe murderer.
He'd have to be a very wealthy axe murderer.
But Jack got tuckered out, merely lugging around the featherweight version. Jeannie Moose, CNN, New York.
Let's go back and talk about Dorothy's dresses. Those are happier times. We'll be back with consumer news right after this.
As the weather warms up, you may be thinking about planning your summer vacation. Travel advisors have some tips to make sure your trip is a breeze. According to the U.S. Travel Association, 85% of Americans are planning to travel this upcoming summer. Travel consultants say book your trip early as they expect flights to fill up fast. Also, now may be the time to make sure your travel documents, including your passport, are up to date. Current passport wait times are estimated between 8 and 11 weeks. Also, pick places like Costa Rica, Chile, or Turkey to get the most out of your coin. Well, the national average price of gas is dropping, but the costs are still causing headaches for consumers. Chris DeMayo has more on why lawmakers on Capitol Hill are accusing oil companies of price gouging, plus a unique solution some Americans are turning to for cheaper gas.
The national average price for a gallon of gas continues trickling downward, decreasing by 3 cents in the past 2 weeks to $4.24 a gallon, according to industry analysts at the Lundberg survey.
It's definitely nice being a commuter and seeing the prices go down.
In total, the average price for gas has fallen by 19 cents over the course of 6 weeks, but many consumers say they're still far too steep. With the Lundberg survey reporting prices are about $1.27 higher than they were this time last year.
A lot of my friends are doing it just to take advantage of the cheaper prices.
George Mason is one of many Americans on the hunt for lower-priced gas. Mason lives in Florida and says he travels across state lines to Georgia, not for peaches, but to save some green at the pump.
It's not the moms and pops who run these gas stations who are at fault. It's their corporate parent.
Meanwhile, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says corporate greed is partially to blame for the sky-high prices, accusing oil companies of using the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine as an excuse to jack up costs. But he has a plan.
Go after the oil companies and go after gouging.
Schumer announcing Sunday he expects President Biden's pick for the Federal Trade Commission will be confirmed sometime this week. This will give Democrats a 3-2 majority on the agency so they can investigate if oil companies are indeed price gouging. However, the American Petroleum Institute says gas prices are not set by specific oil companies, citing supply and demand or what dictates the cost of gas. Chris DeMeo, Fox News.
We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
A baseball pitcher, college kid out of Texas, is facing serious consequences after he tackled a player during a game. Surprise move, it was caught on camera. Here's Scoop Jefferson with the story.
Looked like a pretty good pitch there, just missed Woodward.
This is video of the Weatherford College Coyotes ahead in their first game against the North Central Texas College Lions. But the tables turned in the 6th inning of their 7th inning matchup when Lions batter Josh Phillips takes the plate.
Oh, it's over the fence. It's a 2-run home run to give the Lions the lead.
Next, you eventually see Weatherford pitcher Owen Woodward leave the mound to launch a serious attack.
Oh my, oh no.
I've never seen a pitcher attack a defenseless runner.
Former college baseball player Kel Bordwine runs a Twitter account called Texas College Baseball. He knew right away the non-sportsmanship conduct would cost the player and the team.
When I saw this, I was like, there's no way these guys are sacrificing their season, but futures in the sport as well. This is not going to bode well with whoever sees it.
A statement from Weatherford College baseball coach Jeff Lightfoot says, quote, "We are shocked and disappointed." Coach Lightfoot explained they are completely embarrassed and apologized to North Central Texas College and the fans of WC baseball. Umpires shut down the doubleheader, and now the attack is under investigation by the college and Weatherford College Police.
North Central has taken the lead here in game 1.
Weatherford's pitcher,
Oh my, oh no.
could face school discipline, including expulsion.
Just a little bit of an update that happened over the weekend. Owen Woodward, who was the pitcher, he's been kicked off the team to nobody's surprise. He was supposed to go to the University of Houston and pitch for the Cougars next year college-wise, and obviously had his eyes set on the baseball draft. That's probably going to be a thing of the past now. For those of you that may be unfamiliar with that neck of the woods, would be the nicest way to put it. Oh, Weatherford. I'm not afraid to say this on air. It's a rough place. It shouldn't happen anywhere, but when I heard this weekend and I read that story, growing up in that state and in and around that area, when I came out of Weatherford, I kind of went, oh, okay. So there's no word on if Josh Phillips, he was due to his tackle, if he has any injuries. And now there's a chance that Owen Woodward could end up facing police charges for what he did on the baseball field. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. As Russia's war on Ukraine began a 3rd month, President Volodymyr Zelensky met with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in Kyiv yesterday. An advisor to Zelensky confirmed the meeting. Blinken and Austin are the highest-ranking U.S. officials to visit Ukraine since the war began on February 24th. Over the weekend, the Russian military reported hitting hundreds of targets in Ukraine. In France, President Emmanuel Macron won a 2nd term after defeating far-right candidate Marine Le Pen. Despite the loss, she calls the result a win for her nationalist ideology and its supporters. Macron is the first French leader to be re-elected in 2 decades. Fire in Philadelphia killed 4 people, including 3 children in a home with no working smoke alarms. Firefighters arrived to find heavy flames shooting out of both floors of this row home. 1 person managed to escape.
Little bit chilly out there, especially for our northern portions of the 4 states where it's still the low 40s. Then we go mid-40s as we work down to the south. Remember, a delightful Monday, sunny skies, yeah, a little bit cool, high of only around 62 degrees. Overnight, a frost advisory for Monday night into Tuesday morning, but then warming up all the way to 70 and perhaps most importantly, staying dry until the middle of the week.
All right, well, nearly a dozen ducklings were rescued Friday by staff from the Overland Parks and Animal Control Department. The ducklings swimming in South Lake Park swam into an overflow spillway Wow. Well, staff spent several hours saving 11 of the cutest little ducklings you ever seen. They're now off to tell their parents about their exciting Friday, and thanks to staff, they all will live happily ever after.
So I guess Mama's not around?
I don't know. Like, these guys were off on their own little
Well, I was thinking about
adventure.
When you get close to the ducklings, Mama doesn't like that. And so I wondered if they were like trying to keep Mama at bay. While helping out the ducklings.
It sounded like that they were going to go home and tell. It sounded like this was an adventure, like a perfect setup for a children's story where the ducks went off on their own.
With the lead character named Teddy Bridgewater. I stole that bit. Thank you so much for letting us put the good in your morning. Back with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.